So we must be very, very respectful of what each muti represents spiritually, because it speaks to a certain spirit as well. So when we're not respectful of that, it hits back. Mutis have like very powerful clapbacks that if not sourced or approached correctly, we put our lives in danger. Do you understand? Even our Mobatladi there, ne? Where we source it, the tree that Mobatladi it's usually found in like a large forest, and it's guarded by a two-headed beast. It's not a story, I tell you. Two-headed beast is like, you know those two-headed snakes? Those are the ones that guard Mobatladi. And you will find it there. And there's a certain ritual that you have to do when you are there, sourcing it, so that it doesn't harm you, the beast or that particular muti. The mutis that we get generally from our water bodies are spiritual mutis. They're mutis that heal the spirit of the ancestor, heal the spirit of the living. They house the spirit of the place, the spirit of the land. And that is why it is. Let's say you are a Twasa and you are going to Parura Mdao. They're not going to Parura you under a tree. What they're going to do is they're going to take you to a water body to heal that particular spirit. Yes. And then there's also mutis that we get from the earth. These are our natural healers. They heal disease. They heal the headspace in combination with other elements. So basically the ones that we get from the earth are the ones that heal our bodies, because that's where we come from. And the other thing is fire. Fire is considered as one of nature's most powerful mutis. It gives birth, it singes, and it heals. And it also reignites the spirit of the ones that were there before and the spirit of the ones that are here now. And it's considered one of the most powerful healers, of nature's most powerful healers. That is fire. But it doesn't work in isolation. All these elements work, they're codependent on each other, so like they're interdependent. So they work together to achieve like a particular result. Because there are very few times when you are healing that you don't use the four elements. Yeah, well, yeah. Very, very few times. You could have patient come in, there'll be water involved, there'll be earth, muti involved, there'll be fire involved, and there'll be air involved. So all these elements are interdependent and they help each other in the healing cycle. And it's interesting that water stands alone in the healing cycle, whereas the others are interdependent on each other. Like your trees are dependent on rain, on soil, on all of it. Although in the healing cycle, when you are healing specifically, all those are interdependent, but water stands alone and it stands apart, because it doesn't need any of those others to facilitate it in the healing spirits, in the healing cycle, whereas all those others need it to facilitate the healing process. So it's like if you were to take a Mobatladi at a specific time of the year and put it in a specific place, lightning automatically happens, because its element is fire, although it's a plant. Do you understand? And if you were to put Muchilari at a specific point when the moon is doing particular things, water rises from the earth. So what our understanding then is that all these things are interdependent on each other. Although I said water stands alone, it generally dies in the cycle of healing. But plants are interdependent on the sun, the air, photosynthesis, there's all of those. All those things are important. Everything. And if you were to, for example, go to a place where it's been badly eroded, and you dig the plants there, and you go to a place that's heavily congested and you dig the plants there, they do not have the same effect. So the elements weigh heavily on how then the plant's natural ability is maintained or not. Let's say you're not feeling too great in the morning and you go out and you stand by the sun. What does it do? It automatically alters your mood. There's a chemical, spiritual something that happens to your body that elevates you. So it's like a natural thing that happens with the elements. You're not happy and you just see like a large body of river, like the ocean doing its thing. Your mood automatically changes, whether you want it to or not. Something happens that leaps, your spirit is elevated, and you think, and then you breathe, and then your mood changes. These are considered the natural mutis of life because they have the capacity to change you from one situation to the next. So they are also considered our natural mutis: fire, water, and air. What happens if you get really, really, really cold? Really, really, really cold. Once you've just been hot, your mood also switches from up to down. So there's also lessons to be learned just by observing how our body reacts to different climatic situations. So we understand that when it's bitterly, 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 bitterly cold, you close your ndumba and you go and rest on account of that. When it's like, that cold that gnaws in your bones and you feel like when you're sitting in there, leave, go get hot, go do something. But don't be in that situation and pretend that you can heal other children. Do you understand? You can't. When you're not in a good place, you shouldn't even try and attempt to touch muti or try and heal other children, because you are drawing them down with you. My mother's people are rainmakers. They're healers of the Mujaji rain queen. So they play a lot with water, but what balances it is the earth, right? And they use a lot of muti then in their healing. So it can never stand in isolation. You could be stronger with the water, but it would obviously be interdependent on other things. It would be dependent on what makes it stronger, because the person who's going to invoke you might be a water healer, but then they will teach you the secrets of the water mutis and everything. And with your own desire to learn more, you could go and learn about other ways of healing that could empower you as a water healer. It never stands in isolation. That muti, that particular one, is also fire. Please pass him that. More patladi. And also, gumururo, which is also a blood cleanser. Please pass this around. It's a root that's not too far off from the ground. And you find it in like a sandy situation where it's really, really quite hot. It gets hit by the sun constantly. So it's easy to access. It's difficult to dig, but it's easy to access. But it's not too far off from the surface. So it gets hit by the sun quite a lot. So that's also a fire element, muti. And you get a lot of those. So you find fire in its natural reserve, like the sun. You get the fire that we light. And you get fire in plants. But you also get fire in water. Fire doesn't... It's everywhere. It interplays in all the different elements of nature. Do you understand? How you get fire in water is the only energy that has the ability to quell it. So the biggest element, fire can only be tamed by water. And taming happens a lot in the healing spaces because there are certain mutis, there are certain situations that have to be tamed in order to fit in to the natural order of things or of life. There are a lot of times that fire is an undesirable, and the only thing that could help it become a desirable is water. And then it will kill it off and all of that. So and that's important to remember especially in the healing spaces, that nothing stands alone. Even I, if I say I'm a healer and I go into my ndumba and start practicing, it's never an I thing, because I don't stand alone. I don't, without all these other informations that we speak of, I couldn't do anything on my own. I couldn't do anything without the spirits. I couldn't do anything without the elements. I couldn't do anything without the clients or the patients. So I can never stand alone, and I can never say, oh, I'm such a great healer, there I am. I can't, because this is not me. I'm just a vessel. So nothing stands alone. So that this is a wild onion. It looks a lot like sikaname, I think, which the red one, which a lot of you are quite familiar with. This is the white one. So they would slice a few slices from that, and then they'd boil it for us. So it keeps you energized and happy, and it purifies the blood as well in the process, you know. And this is also a gut cleanser, which is good. It's very, very gentle. A baby to an adult can use it. It works the same way. And it is very good for liver functionality. So for like your liver functionality, this is brilliant. And so is that. And I'm sure you've noticed that a lot of healers never use muti in isolation. You can't like say, take that mopatladi and go, and we always mix a bit of this, that, and the other, depending on what it is that the client needs from you particularly. So kids, that's very good for children as well, because it keeps their spirit alive. I usually divine my muti all the time. I mean, I know where I get mine from and how I source it. But if before I am going to give it to a client, I ask the muti, are you the right muti to serve the purpose of what it is that I'm going to do? It will give me a direct answer, yes or no. If it's a no, then I put it away and then I ask the next one. Because it has, as much as I know what heals what and how, every client is an individual. And where they come from and everything that they carry is theirs particularly. So you can never ever heal the same ailment the same way in different people. Everything is individual to that person because of the energy that they carry, what it is that their ancestors are seeking from the healing, and what it is that they themselves are seeking from the healing. So it has to be quite particular with regard to that. So it's important to ask the relevant questions from the muti, because muti lives. Muti is energy. It is us. So you have to engage it in a way that it can give you the relevant answers that you are seeking, so that you can actually heal people. Because it's one thing to say that I'm a healer. It's another thing completely to heal people. Because I find that a lot of people are healers and they look good and they're there. But are you healing people? Are you doing something? Because we have different kind of healers. Maybe your thing is just to spread the message and make people aware. But I believe that I'm a healer that actually heals, that gives people muti and say, take this and heal. I believe that I am one of those people.